Welcome to In the Oven with Adam and Brad.
What's up, y'all?
We were just talking about the Osmo Pocket 3, and it's really crazy how far cameras have come. Just the ability to, this little bitty camera can do so much. Obviously, you know, with these nice cameras, you have the ability to, like, change the lens out, get different focal lengths, like, all that kind of look. But for just, like, a little bitty camera to carry around with you, it's so discreet.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's like carrying around a microphone, kind of. I mean, so it's like you get looks of like, wonder what he's got there. But not like, you know, you got the camera with the big shotgun mic, and you got the whole deal. And
well, it's what I used to hate the most about, like, going on cruises and things like that is, like, this camera is, like, first off, it's like probably almost $4,000 by the time you add in the microphone camera and all that stuff on it. And now I want to go to the pool and I don't want it to sit in the sun. It's hard to put it into a bag. Also, in the bag at the pool, like, you can tell, like, this is a nice camera. Whereas those Osmo Pocket 3s, it almost looks like a stick, like like a selfie stick.
Yep, it does.
And so, yeah.
Well, and that's kind of the awkward thing too, I guess, about like the influencer space or doing things on social media. I mean, you're making a video for social media. There is quite a bit of look at me, right? Or look at what's going on. But not y'all right here. We don't really want, you're not really trying to detract from their time. You don't really want to distract from their vacation. You just got to do your job too, which is,
it's
document everything. So
and then obviously you have the big shotgun microphone on top, and now, like, this Osmo Pocket 3 with the DJI Mic 2s or the Mic Minis, it wirelessly connects to that. So, like, you can have a lapel mic on, get really great sound quality. And because that's my problem with, like, GoPros, because all the time people are like, oh, just use a GoPro. A GoPro sounded like you were recording it on a GoPro.
Yeah, like,
it's like muffled because obviously it's all, like, waterproof, so it just didn't sound good. But no, I mean, the technology, it's crazy. And a lot of those creators that are kind of blowing up on that, like, come with me and let's go shopping at Costco together, they're using those little...
They are, man. They've got neat built-in software. They've got face tracking, so you can go from, forward-facing camera, I'm videoing everything, to, like, double tap, it spins back around at you, and then can face track. So if you're maybe more like me and a little all over the place, like, it'll just kind of keep the camera with you, keeps it stable, you can walk, and it doesn't have all that bounce. So it's interesting that they can pack all that down into that size.
For sure. And then, obviously, you may have noticed the podcast setup looks a little different now.
It does. Looks great.
So I just, like, lowered the... we have two different lights. I brought out the second light to give a little bit of softer on one side, and then we kind of lowered the brightness on the other side, so we don't have as much, like, in-your-face lighting, and that allowed that background to, like, really pop.
Yeah, it's very fiery.
But I'm waiting for... This is Adam's job, is to get us a sign somewhere in the middle right there.
Yep.
So
I'm on it.
This is what I do. I go,
Yep.
right into his court. It's your turn.
Pickleball.
So, on to, like, talk about the marathon prep stuff. This morning was my first tempo workout with Garrison.
Yeah, how'd it go?
I mean, it's fine. I held up fine. It wasn't difficult in that. So it was a 1 mile warm up run at, like, a 9.5 minute pace, and then it was 3.5 minutes of a 7:30 pace, and then a 2 minute kind of, like, walk, which it was supposed to be like I think a quicker walk, but I really wanted to get my heart rate back down again. So we were literally walking, like, 16-minute mile, like, pretty slow walking. But it's funny because, like, I was fine during those stretches. I was able to hold it fine, no big deal. In fact, I was constantly, like, slowing myself down. My heart rate would get up to, like, upper 160s, and then by the end of the 2 minute rest, I was down into the 130s again. Garrison's heart rate peaked out at, like, 130.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang.
Well, that's something you're going to struggle with, right? Because you're in shape. And I dealt with this. I worked with a coach. He was very frustrated with me, and I wasn't training for marathons. I was just training for endurance type stuff. I can go harder, though.
Yeah.
I can handle faster.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's not the point. You got to keep your heart rate under a certain amount. I'm like, this is boring.
Yeah, it is. I think that's the hardest part. So I'm actually looking at buying a C2 bike because I want to essentially on Sundays or a couple days a week. Sundays would be the longer one. Like, literally sit there for, like, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and bike at, like, a 125 heart rate. Like, literally the bottom of my zone 2, maybe 130, but essentially just, like, right there. Because, really, it's like, a 130.
You gonna go live during any of those?
Maybe I should.
Yeah. Hey, bike with me.
Yeah, just
whatever,
let's
see
go
what happens.
bike together. Oh, but I mean, maybe
Maybe help pass the time at that like kind of boring pace. Somebody in there
bike chats with Brad.
Yeah, right. Something there.
Biking with Brad.
Something there.
But yeah, I think that's part of it. But I think, when you look at Garrison, I'm like, what's your heart rate? And he tells me, I'm just like, man, this is so discouraging. But then he like sent me a screenshot or showed me a screenshot. I need to get him to send to me of his 2022 or 2023, maybe some time frame where he had like same heart rate as me in the mid 150s, running like a 9.5 or 940 pace mile, and then literally the next year, his heart rate's in the mid like 130s, running the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, you're putting in the time, right? And so that's the thing. So getting the C2 bike, that's going to help, but it's just that time where your heart gets there, acclimates, doesn't stress, doesn't tell you to stress.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot going on when your heart speeds up for long enough that it's just like, hey, something's wrong.
Yeah.
So those little signals are being sent around your body, and you kind of got to learn to go, no, they're fine.
We know the hardest part is like whenever you're doing like bodybuilding style stuff, every week you like go and you're like, you want to lift more weight or like more reps. And like, you know the barrier you're pushing. For this, it's like you want to run further but slower now. Yeah. And you're like, how does this work? Yeah, this doesn't seem fun. Like for me, my goal would be like, run as fast as you can for a mile. Then the next day, run as fast as you can and try to get further or get there faster, right?
The thing I think that comes into it is how long we've all, quote unquote, been able to run or walk. Nobody really teaches you how to run. You just walk real fast and start running. Yeah. And so like, if you had a friend that was like, man, I've never been to the gym before, you wouldn't be like, let's figure out what your maxes are. Right. Right. Yeah. And so, or even try to train anywhere near that at first. And so, like, I think that's what it is. But because in the gym, if you've gone none, you've never done a bench press before, never done something before, then every rep you do is, like, focused and everything else, whereas, like, we've all ran, so we're like, yeah, I got it. And I think undoing some of that learned, I don't know, mechanics, if you will.
No, I agree. And for me, like, I know it's going to sound dumb, but, like, I'll, like, forget to breathe. Yep. I mean, not like obviously I'm breathing, but like I'm not taking, like I need to like breathe in deeper through your nose and like really feel your diaphragm and then exhale quickly out your mouth so that you can just bring in your oxygen quicker. Cause for me, I think I'll just like get into like almost where you're like lazy running, where you're like, you just kind of like out your mouth. And it's like, well, that's not really doing anything, right? I need to like exchange the air. You know?
Get to thinking about something and kind of forget. And the thing though too is you'll start breathing like you're out of breath and your body will panic and kind of send the signals like, hey, you need to slow down. Whereas then the second you go, you're like, oh wait, I'm fine. Yeah. I'm actually okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for me, it's like you keep my heart rate under control. Cause I mean, there was one of the sprint intervals that we did. My heart starts beating so fast, like I feel it in my head. Like I feel like the do-do. But I think I can confidently look at you. I don't know if I could do it below 5 minutes, but I definitely could run a mile like 5:30 or below after what we just did, because there were times that we took off, for 3.5 minutes, and like our takeoff pace was like I was under, like I was like at 6:20, and I was like not trying to go. And if I could hold that for 3:30s like multiple times, I'm pretty sure I could just hold a all-out blitz for 5.5 minutes.
Yeah, that used to be intense. We would do 1 miles like heads up challenge. Like, I don't know, some gyms do different things. We would do random CrossFit workouts head to head, but a lot of times it was 1 mile and it was hard. Yeah. Because, 1 mile, man, if you're a big guy, I was always a bigger guy, or a lightweight guy or whatever, man, like you can kind of come in around there's only so fast you can run that mile.
And for me, I think it's also I'm like figuring out my stride kind of, because like while I'm running, sometimes I'll be like, I'll like just try just different things. And I'm like, ooh, this feels easier. Yeah. And all of a sudden I feel like I'm not laboring as hard to move as quick. And I know that doesn't make sense if you haven't been running, but like as you're running, you can like tweak your own form. Yeah. Like, okay, hey, try to drag with your foot and use your hamstrings as you're running. Yeah. Or maybe I need to like kind of butt kick, so I like kind of push my leg up further, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that feels more comfortable. That doesn't feel as hard.
There's a guy that came up with a whole thing called pose running. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. You should look it up. He quantifies running. Now, whether you believe it or not, if you got any runners out there, feel free to add your comments. I'm not an expert on this, but he quantified running. He breaks it down much further, but he looks at it like a continuous fall, so that if you were to stand up straight and just lean at the ankle not at the knee, not at the waist, not whatever, good posture, that one foot would naturally go in front of you, and where you naturally landed would be your natural cadence. And depending on how fast that lean was, would dictate how fast you ran and also where your cadence was. And it's pretty interesting. A lot of the barefoot guys follow that because you can do it. There's no heel striking and stuff like that. But basically, once you've eliminated that lean and you really just have your feet out underneath you, you're jogging, you're like heel pulling and stuff. There's nothing wrong with it. It's great techniques across the board, but it's interesting to read about.
Yeah. Well, I've even noticed that, like, while I'm running, like, I'll like mess around with like how my body is oriented and stuff. It's just like now's the time to be messing around with this kind of stuff. But I will say, like, after running at that like 7:30 pace for essentially 6 rounds of that, so was that like 18? Was that 21 minutes of that? I was like, this half marathon is gonna be tough because I essentially got to do that for like what, like
hour and 45 minutes.
Hour 45 minutes, and I did it for that 1/7 the amount of time that I need to be doing. Obviously, I don't have to run a 7:30 though. I need to run like 8.
If your goal doesn't scare you though, it's not big enough.
Well, my goal definitely scares me.
Good. So, good.
Also, like, I'm gonna give it my all to the point where like I'll collapse before I'll like not try hard.
We'll be there with you, bro.
So,
we'll pick you up.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The goal, not that I'm trying to back down, the goal is an hour 45 half marathon this year.
Yeah.
This is my first attempt at it. If I beat it, that just means I got to set another goal. So again, I think people also forget, like, a 2-hour goal and an hour 45 goal sounds like, oh, you're only cutting 15 minutes off. Well, over a 13 mile race, like, you're cutting off over a minute per mile. Like, that's a lot. Yeah. So my first goal was like 2 hours, and they told me like too easy.
Yeah. 9-minute pace, Brad. Just run an 8-minute pace. Yeah. No problem.
Just run a 7-minute pace.
Yeah.
So
why not run a 2-minute pace?
Yeah. Why not just run a 5-minute pace for the whole thing?
Just teleport. Man, my squad leader in the Army, at least my first one, dude, he was a freaking gazelle. He smoked cigarettes too.
Could you imagine running though like a sub 1 hour half marathon? Like, what are you going to do today? Well, I think I'm just going to sprint a half marathon.
No, but I knew a couple guys that did the Army 10 miler every year in under an hour.
Okay.
I mean,
that's the
truth.
Yeah. But they were probably bigger too though.
No.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you looked at me and I and I'm the same size I am now, and I was like, I'm going to run a sub 1 hour.
Yeah, I'd be like, okay, bro.
Yeah, you're about to lose 15 pounds and do that.
Yeah. Hey.
So,
man, I don't know. Granted, I like the guys that are very open and honest about their supplementation, but there's some big boys out there on Instagram doing some of the ultra stuff. Now, I don't know that they're not just videoing them running up to the camera or not. I mean, I haven't done my research, but I'm just like,
believe me,
bro, my traps would hurt just running.
Yeah, I think for me, the hard part is, knowing that like people have more muscle mass than me, doing like more strength and workouts, and like their ability to recover. And I'm like, man, I'm dying over here. I feel like. So
what y'all got?
Yeah, what is NAD really that good? I feel like everyone's like NAD
asking for everyone.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I take BPC 157 nasal spray because I feel like my joints would be hurting if I didn't, but I don't know if that's really that big of a plus for you.
Need some chemists to comment below.
Well, I do know there's people love NAD, and I don't know.
NAD plus is great. Your body creates NAD plus. There are a ton of other supplements. Mechano growth factor. In bodybuilding, a lot of times they focus on growth factors that grow muscles, but in endurance work, you focus on things that recover and repair muscles. So, mechano growth factor is a big one. So pegylated MGF. Very, very fancy. Yeah, very fancy. A lot of
he's just saying the alphabet to me right now.
Yeah, a lot of peptides out there. Don't want to be that kind of channel, but yeah, there are a ton of stuff that is have been created by big pharma that was shelved for some reason or another and has fallen out of any kind of patents because it didn't oftentimes have the marketability. Yeah. And so, Viagra was not a boner drug.
Right.
They pulled that one back off the shelf when they realized what
you could do, the side effects.
Well, and
had a great side effect.
Yeah, and so that's what a lot of these things are.
Stay hard.
Yeah, generalized performance-enhancing drugs is not a big market. There's not a big allure out there for the layperson to want to improve anything about.
Well, I'm really excited about the potential of like RFK and some of these like research peptides because I mean, one, I know what BPC 157 can do for people from gut health and like all this stuff, and there's really great amino acid chains, not crazy like lab-made drugs that are doing like wonders for people. And so I'm really excited to see if RFK, I think it's confirmation's tomorrow, which today's the 28th of...
Cerebrolysin is another big one that's not really for muscle repair so much as it is cognitive repair.
Yeah.
And with all the cognitive decline in this country, I mean, cerebrolysin's been around for a long time. They make it out of like bioavailable pig material, but it effectively helps people with brain. And, that kind of, some of that stuff, dementia and stuff runs in my wife and my family. So it's like, it'd be nice to be able
Have you heard that like Ozempic and stuff for like, it's supposedly helping people with like dementia? And then also, have you heard the Ozempic baby situation? Like people getting pregnant from like using Ozempic like a fertility drug?
Yeah. So there is, GLP-1s are...
Yeah.
Quite weird. I don't know that we know enough about them, but people are using them off label to quit smoking. Like they're using them to do all kinds of stuff. And it's like, y'all realize you're like modulating some stuff with your neurochemicals here.
Right.
That, like, okay.
Yeah. The reason, it's definitely messing with your dopamine because obviously smoking and food and all those things are dopamine reward factories. And obviously then it's also messing with something to do with your, I guess LH and FSH or something to do with your insulin sensitivity because of the ability to
I would imagine it would have to release luteinizing hormone, which unchecked, I don't know, cause issues. Yeah.
So either way, great for people, but also like kind of like, whoa.
Fast paced.
But speaking of RFK, I'm going to jump on the Trump situation. Google Maps has officially updated the Gulf of Mexico to a Gulf of America for, I don't know if it's on your phone, but they announced they're going to do it for all U.S. users. In Mexico, it'll still say the Gulf of Mexico and like other places. Okay. And then some places are going to say like Gulf of America / Gulf of Mexico. And then same with the Mount Denali or whatever, the highest peak in the U.S. They're naming it Mount McKinney. Like it's going to say kind of like both, Okay. But they pretty much came out and said like, first off, it's an executive order, and second off, like it's been our stance that if something gets updated to provide the name update for the users that it affects. And
I can see there being all kinds of up in arms, and I know people feel one type of way or another about Trump. But as far as I understood with at least like the Gulf of Mexico, it was that, we foot the bill to clean the thing. We foot the bill to deal with everything.
And the Panama Canal and all that stuff.
I know, that's not even touching that one. But basically, like if we take care of it, if it's our Gulf, if we got to pay for everything, it's ours. Yeah. And so, it's not a territorial thing. Everybody still gets to do whatever they want. I don't think they...
Also, I don't understand like why people get like so up in arms about it in general, there's just as much, maybe, I don't know, like landmass to landmass, like America is touching just as much, I feel like, as Mexico is it not?
Oh, I don't know. We're like all the way around that beast.
Well, Texas. That's what I'm saying. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, we have a lot. Yeah. Yeah. So either way, it's just funny to me what people want to get upset about. Like, this changes your life. Zero.
It's one of those things where, like the guy that dresses up in the Hispanic costume and asks if he's offensive or not. I feel like it's people getting offended on other people's behalf.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Bunch of Americans offended on behalf of Mexicans.
I will tell you, it is going to, I think for me, it's just going to be difficult because I'll just be like, oh yeah, the Gulf of Mexico. Or I just feel like I say the Gulf.
Yeah, I say the Gulf more than anything around here because we're usually referring to the Bay or the Gulf.
Yeah, and everyone calls it the ocean anyways. Yeah. You want to go, or the beach. You want to go to the beach,
Yeah. So. Yeah, I'll probably still keep calling it the Gulf of Mexico. That's what I learned. But, Gulf of America's cool. I'm pro the Gulf of America. But I'll probably forget and call it the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we'll jump into some of these reaction videos before we go off on some fat and weird stuff. But Trump announces Stargate.
Together, these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate. So put that name down in your books because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States and very, very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately. This monumental undertaking is a resounding declaration of confidence in America's potential under a new president. Let me be a new president. I didn't say it. They did.
That's good. So I think for me, what's funny about this, a lot of people, I don't know if you've heard about this at all, but like a lot of people thought that it's a weird move for Trump just because like Elon isn't one of these investors into this group, you know, and Elon's very like he's tweeted about like they haven't raised nearly as much capital and then the billionaires are kind of saying no, I've promised this much. Yeah. A lot of people think that Elon is steering Trump's decisions, and I think this is just proof that he's not.
I don't think so. I think you know, Trump's a businessman. I think he keeps the best minds around him and then takes their opinions and puts them in the blender that is in his business mind and comes out with some pretty good opinions. That was my first kind of thing is $500 billion and 100,000 jobs. I would just want to know over what timeline because like...
He said almost immediately.
I know. And so like $500 billion is a lot of money. Whose money? Where is it? Like, I mean... The top names on the list aren't the ones coming strong. It's funds that has to be. And so like who and what.
Right.
And if they're privy to government contracts or they're going to be getting government contracts, which it seems like they would be vying for the 100,000 jobs. You're not just creating random jobs.
Yeah, for sure.
I would want to know who is in there and what they're doing. You know, I know Trump's on top of all that, but there's just so much corruption in politics.
Yeah, speaking of Trump, on top of that, have you seen that he canceled like a ton of government contracts or put a bunch of grants and things on pause until they can like go through it? Which again, I think that a lot of people think that he's like trying to kill programs. He's not. Listen, I was in the military. You were in the military. We had such a fat budget that was so inflated and it was so much waste in that budget because people didn't want to lose the money. So they would just spend the money on stupid things. The contracts that we had with some of these defense contractors were stupid. Outrageous. We would pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for this valve because it was certified, even though the same valve that went through the same process as the other one was $5,000 or something. And it's just because they know they got you by the, and so they just really pillage you. And so I think that it's gotten to, and then you're like, oh, well, you know, you still got to bid it out. But it's like they bid it out to the same 3 fat cats. And then I wouldn't be surprised if they all didn't collude and say, hey, you can have this one.
Well,
let's bid this much
side
and
of the
stuff.
Government
So
too, is you do have to bid it out. But you can get so specific with the words in which...
Or the requirements of the person to have specifications.
There's only a couple players anyways. And then at that level, they all know each other. They all talk. I know they're not allowed to collude, but they're not allowed to do all kinds of stuff. So
yeah. And so, yeah, I just... Anytime it comes to that kind of situation, it's just like, I mean, shoot, you saw the movie War Dogs. Those kids were making so much money moving guns across, you know, because it's just,
Yeah, they got it off that first contract that what Ephraim or whatever got that.
Was it the Benellis or whatever?
No, it's rare gun parts for Special Forces Group. And like, I know that we dealt with some of those people where when you need to train with like indigenous firearms and you need every kind of, you need Russian-made, you know, you need Korean-made machine guns, whatever you're going to find. And, like, where do you get those from?
Yeah.
I don't know. But if you can figure it out, you can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And with the internet, see, that was before the internet. I mean, these boys had to, like, drive around the country, I think, and, like, look for them. I don't know what.
Or, like,
the movie, I'm sure, glamorized it. I'm sure it was, like, pretty shitty work.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But it just shows you how much money is in it that people are willing to go through that kind of headache because there's so much money. But I remember vividly being on the submarine, and our supply officer was like, hey, dive division hasn't used their budget yet. You have, like, $5,000 to spend, and there's like 4 of us, right? And I'm like, what am I gonna do with $5,000? Like, I don't need it. She's like, you need to use it, or else you're not gonna get this budget next year. And then I was like, well, shoot, like,
give me a sweet office chair.
Well, no. So every single diver got a dive computer watch. We dove once a year, mainly for proficiency. They did not need dive computer watches, but my supply officer told me I needed to spend this money. So we bought dive gear. I mean, we bought things that they would use if we were to dive. We just rarely ever dove except for proficiency. Right. So, I mean, when you were in Bremerton, there was an actual dive division there of like real divers that have went through like surface supply school, not scuba school like us. So it's like, all right. Michael Jordan's fatal addiction. Okay, what's gambling? I know that. So
Michael Jordan. I don't ever want to meet him. Don't ever want to talk to him. Just all the things that I hear about Michael Jordan. Bad stuff that I hear about Michael Jordan.
He's a big gambler. Michael gambles on everything.
Do you have a gambling problem?
No, I enjoy it. It's a hobby. If I had a problem, I'd be starving. My wife had left me.
He was told to leave the NBA around the time that his father got murdered because stories were about to come out that because of Michael's gambling habit, his father paid the price. And the NBA didn't want the press, so they asked him to leave for a while. That's when he went to play baseball.
You love gambling.
I do.
What's the biggest loss?
$3 million.
Interesting backstory.
Yeah, I didn't know that
it
one.
made no sense why he went and played baseball.
Yeah, it was weird. And he was like at his prime.
Yeah, and not good at baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't, who was it? Barry Sanders? Which one? That Bo Jackson, Barry Sanders? Who played baseball too?
Oh, Bo Jackson played everything.
Yeah, Bo Jackson played baseball and football, right? Yeah.
Deion Sanders.
Oh yeah, Deion Sanders. Yeah, he did both too. Yeah, he's
Deion's
that's where they
short.
got the Atlanta Braves job.
Deion's short. Michael Jordan's so dang tall, bro. If you ain't a hitter, man, they're just going to strike you out every time.
That's interesting. I do know. I've heard about his. Like, I heard like if you really want to get him riled up, just like I bet you this, and he'll
I've heard,
get.
I've heard the same thing. Or there's a cool story. Y'all can look it up. But there's a Michael Jordan was just having like an off total game, and this player for the other team like talked a little trash.
Yeah.
And he just turned into Michael Jordan.
Right.
It's like the beginning of Superman, where Superman gets beat up the whole movie and then was like, wait, I'm Superman. And then for no real reason, the tides just turned.
Yeah.
That was Michael Jordan in that game.
Yeah.
And then the next time they played, he was like, oh, I remember you. And crushed him again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was like talking trash to the team. This is because of him.
I've heard like mixed things about Michael Jordan, and I got, honestly, people probably have heard mixed things about me. So I like don't really like to say anything like negative because like I've never met him. I do think, obviously one of the greatest. People argue he is the greatest. I think if he wouldn't have left for 3 years and played baseball and he would have played and won at least one or two more rings during that 3 year period, then I don't think there'd be an argument. It's just like you look at LeBron James, and a lot of reasons people call him the greatest is just the longevity of his career. I mean, he played so long, he's got his kid playing in the NBA with him, or I guess in the G League, but drafted by the Lakers. But yeah, it's pretty impressive how long he's made it. But yeah, man, Michael Jordan. I'm truly sad that like my parents never watched sports. I never really got to see Michael Jordan play. I see like highlights and stuff, but like, in the 90s, that's probably the time that I would have been watching it as a kid. But like my parents didn't watch football. My parents didn't watch sports. So I never watched that stuff. So.
Yeah, I didn't really either. I mean, grew up with my mom, we're in a sports household.
I know. So yeah, I feel like when people are like, oh yeah, you grew up watching Michael Jordan.
Blah,
and I'm
blah,
like,
blah. I'm like, I know that it happened.
Yeah. I mean, I remember seeing him on commercials with Gatorade and Nikes. All right. Strangest friendship in history.
Here are some of the strangest friendships in history. So Dennis Rodman and Kim Jong-un have been friends since 2013 when he originally traveled there with the Harlem Globetrotters, and they immediately got along over their love for basketball. Rodman has visited actually many times since and is an informal ambassador to North Korea. Julian Assange and Lady Gaga are friends and had multiple hour-long meetups and dinners over the years while Assange was hiding at the Ecuadorian embassy in London. Britney Spears and Mel Gibson were also close, and they helped counsel each other when they were going through some emotional times. Colonel Sanders was good friends with FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, and they'd always go to each other's birthday parties. Helen Keller was friends with the inventor of the telephone, Alexander Graham Bell, and even dedicated her autobiography to him for helping with her finances. She was also good friends with Mark Twain, despite the 45-year age gap. They would regularly exchange letters with each other. And finally, Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg have been friends for years after bonding over their shared love for cooking. Pretty cool, right?
Cooking. Yeah, I love how I said cooking. Yeah. I mean, I knew about the Dennis Rodman thing, which also, like, how cool is it that you're, like, friends with one of the richest people in the world?
Yeah, I mean, don't discount the fact that Kim Jong-un is not the people of North Korea. He's like a freaking trillionaire or whatever, so I'm sure that they have a great time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Over there. Just an unfortunate situation for those people. Julian Assange, Lady Gaga. I mean, I don't know anything about Julian Assange other than who he is, of course, all that stuff. But she's a little out there, so it feels like she did that for publicity for her own.
I didn't. What about Britney Spears and Mel Gibson?
They're also both nuts, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson was like on top for a while, and then I think
didn't he do like the whole like Passion of the Christ and stuff? Didn't he?
He did. Yeah, but I don't know if it was alcohol or some drugs. He had some like over the top moments with like, law enforcement and a couple different things. So I think he kind of went a little nuts too.
Yeah.
And then kind of fell out. You don't really see too much of him anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, from the standpoint of someone that's on social media that has nowhere near the light that these people have on their lives, I could see how that could mentally affect you so much. Like to be told essentially all the time that you suck or like people love you, people hate you. You know, if you didn't have a very grounded like self-worth or like support network that actually cared about you, because I think a lot of times these people have a support network that's just feed me, pay me.
Absolutely.
Then I could see like how you could just really.
Yeah, I think the stars that stay stars are either very grounded or have a great support network that buffers everything from them. I can only imagine how draining it must be for people to recognize you from their favorite movie or their favorite show or something. Or let's say you're just a persona of some kind on the internet, and then you just have to be that all the time when that's just like a moment in your time.
Yeah.
But like you're going to crush your fans' heart, or you're going to crush somebody, or you're like constantly letting them down because they're meeting their hero and you're just a normal person.
You know what I would do now that I think about it?
What?
I legitimately would find like a top tier like psychiatrist or someone like that, and I would hire them and they would be like on staff. They would go everywhere with me.
Well, they do, but we talked about that, man. The handlers and the
well,
stuff.
not like that. Not like that. I mean, like someone like
someone
I see
you trust.
someone I see right now.
Yeah, right.
Like someone I see right
Bring
now.
them
If
up
all of a
with
sudden I would just be like, hey, I've got an opportunity. I feel like I trust you. I
bring 'em
need
up
you.
with
Like.
Otherwise, I feel like some of those turn into just pure handlers, and they're like, "Here, take this." Here,
No,
take this.
because I would be like, I think that's a conversation I would have like before, like as it was coming. It's just like, I'm no drugs, no nothing. Like you need to mentally prepare me for everything I'm going through. But yeah, I think that's the hardest part. You know, the real thing too is that I think we talked about this earlier. Is like you don't take advice until you're ready to take the advice. And I mean, we've all done that before. I'm sure you know you give advice to Liam sometimes, and he would still do the opposite of what your advice is. And it's almost like until someone's ready to receive that, they're just,
that's, you know, so I mean,
it'll be different for me.
You take biblical ways or whatever, you know, but having wisdom, man, and being able to accept wisdom in real time is a skill or a trait or something that we should all aspire to have, because like, if somebody tells you something and they're not just giving you have you ever thought about, if they tell you something or whatever, there's wisdom to be gleaned from it. That specific instance, you might handle it differently, but like there's always something to be learned, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, your parents tell you stuff and you, like you mentioned on Liam, and then you grow up and you're like, I know where they were coming from.
Yeah.
Like it's more of like where you're coming from sometimes.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know there's so much advice that like older people have given me about like just random things, you know, and well, I mean, shoot, just like the advice you get from every person, like, don't worry about high school. It doesn't really matter, you know, what people think about you, or like, it doesn't really matter what people think about you, period. You know, obviously there's people that you care about and you want them to think highly of you, but at the same time, it's like, really doesn't matter what anyone thinks about you.
Well, you want them to up into a point, right? And so like the more you become comfortable, this took a long time for me because, you know, growing up, obviously ADHD, like, oh, you got to be quiet. You know, you talk too much, sit down enough. It's like, man, granted, I was not a partner in that group, but I made a group millions of dollars because I was willing to be all over the place and run my mouth. I mean, full stop. Like, got the tax returns and everything to prove it. So it's like I've learned to become more and more comfortable with myself. And so, I mean, you even hear like when we bring people on or whatever, hey, this is how I am. You have to take it at face value. I understand that like maybe you still have some like say one thing and mean something else. I don't. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. And that's how I feel. And there's no like, I wonder if he meant that. If you do that to yourself, then you're doing it to yourself. You know what I mean? But yeah, being very face value, being very quick and to the point and stuff was always something that, I mean, if autism was prevalent when I was growing up as much as it is now, I'm sure they would have like diagnosed me with something.
Right.
It was just very matter of fact, very to the point, very quick. And of course you can't do that, can't be that way. Well, yeah, because we've kind of created our lives around this like corporate fragile, like, no, you have to say all these words you don't mean. So then they have to say a bunch of words they don't mean back to each other. And you actually both really hate it. And you really can tell that each other is just really being passive.
Well, you've become responsible for someone else's feelings.
Yeah.
And that's an impossible task, right? Because like at the end of the day, like I don't Yeah, I'm not responsible for how you handle like information or situations. I'm just responsible for like my part in that situation.
Yeah, I had a guy tell me, he kind of hit me in my feels, but at one time, you know, angry kid, a little more quick to physical violence and stuff. When I would get angry, people would make me angry. And basically he surmised it that I was actually pretty weak, because if everyone could manipulate me and control me like that, like, oh, they made you so angry.
Yeah.
Everyone can just make you angry. You're a pretty weak-minded dude.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, absorbed. And like, it was something around there. And then of course my son was born and all that stuff kind of chilled me out. But yeah, it was right. People go in hard and I'm just like, I mean, shit, you've been there. You've seen a couple interactions. I'm like, whoa, I hope you have a better day.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Well, I think I was like listening to something not too long ago, and it's like all feelings are inward, not outward. So like when you have when someone car cuts you off and then you get angry with that car, maybe you honk your horn, whatever. But like at the end of the day, like you can't transfer that energy to them. It's you're holding on to that. And then the longer you decide to like hold on to that anger, it's the more it's like affecting you. Yep. Everyone's reality is a projection from themselves. And so like you can't project it onto anyone else. So like, again, someone mistreats you, someone does you wrong, all these things, holding on to that anger is literally only affecting you.
Yeah. And then those, you know, and I know sometimes it really, you just got to remember there are people out there that are so broken and hurt inside that they find joy in causing you that grief.
Yeah.
And if you can notice that and just realize that it's because they're so sad inside.
Yeah.
I usually feel bad for those people. Like the people that kind of sneer, if they cut you off and sneer.
Well,
if they cut me off and they're kind of like, oh, I'm just like, I get it. I might have done that too at some point.
Well, you know, another thing I think about too is like the people that talk about me and Aubrey on like Reddit and stuff. Like one, I don't even have time really, I think, to like be so invested in someone else's life right now to like even go to like find something wrong with their life.
Right.
Much less like go to Reddit and kind of create an echo chamber that we can talk about it. Yeah. But two, it's just the more I like sat with that, I go, man, that must be a sad life that like it's the dopamine hit of like, I'm going to post something and people are going to affirm my feelings on the internet. Mm-hmm. And I get it. I think there are great uses for Reddit and those things. Yeah. If someone's scamming people or someone is lying, manipulating people, like whatever, but to like get upset because someone said, if you're having anxious thoughts, try to be present in the moment and practice gratitude, because gratitude, you know, is in the present and anxiety is in the future. And to like get on there and like roast someone over that, like they did Aubrey that one time. I was just like, that's just such a weird thing, because someone is actually trying to give you helpful information. Yeah. And you take that and you try to like just poop all over it.
Yeah, man, it's really sad. It is. It's a momentary, let me try to point at this thing I say is an issue over here so no one like looks at me or whatever. Yeah, it's really sad. One thing though is to be like a real awe-inspiring or life-changing person in someone else's life, you're gonna be laughed at by some people.
Yeah. What are they doing? Oh,
I have no idea.
There's
They're
they're behind
downstairs.
us. They're like, no, I think, are they on the landing right now? Like moving stuff?
Maybe.
Yeah. Sorry. That's like right behind us. And I know you guys can't hear it, but it literally sounds like a steamroller's going behind us.
I mean, it kind of sucks because, you know, a lot of times it's the people that are in your life right now. Yeah. Right. So like you want to make a big change. Hopefully you guys never experience it, but you want to make a big change. And it's a lot of different things, man, depending on who your people are. If you've never been to church before and you tell everybody around you you're going to church, unless you have a good church-going community, oftentimes they're just going to kind of tell you, oh, I'm too busy to go, or or whatever. They're going to help you not do that thing. And so if you say, I mean, a lot of the stuff you do, man, I personally like. I like that you do your affirmations, your Bible study, your stuff. You're committed to that. There are plenty of people that could come up with a million reasons why you don't need to do those things or any of those. And putting it out there, especially in today's light where, like, I don't know, leading with your Christian foot kind of gets not good light. Yeah. But that said, it's inspiring to other people. And so, like, to do one thing that is, like, the right, good thing to do, other people are going to, like, clown on you or give you grief. And those people are broken, man. Like, if you're doing bad things and you're getting, cheered on or sneered at or whatever, then it's different. But
I think it too, it's just like a lot of people don't, especially your friends, get really comfortable in your sphere. And you can still be above someone like in this sphere, but like when they feel like you're taking another step and you're like going further away from them, I think a lot of times it makes them feel like they're inadequate just by your movement. And I think it's so weird. We were talking about this, Garrison and I were running this morning. We're talking about like comparison is the thief of joy. And I love that saying, but like really it's not. Comparison isn't the thief of joy. Like, you should be able to compare. I think it was when comparison turns into envy or when it turns into negative self-talk or anything like that. But like comparing things is like great. Like comparing where I was at yesterday to today or where I want to be, like that comparison is a fine modality. I think the issue is when you start saying like comparing my life to someone else's life and then go, ooh, I wish I had their life, right?
Yeah,
Instead of being like, I want to get there.
Yeah, we focus on the output, right? So like, I wish I had his bank account, not I wish I had his workload.
Yeah.
You know, if we ever started, and that's anything, man, if you ever start with like, I like the way that person's moving, let me move like that person first, whatever it is, man. Oh, wow, that guy gets up, I get up, go to the gym every day. I get asked for advice by people that I've seen once or twice at the gym. I give them genuine advice, but most of it is like, just keep coming every day.
Yeah.
Keep coming every day. Ask me what to do every day. I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
Until that gets to be burdensome, but like, then they just kind of stop. And so like, yeah.
I mean, I'm at like 21 plus years of working out. And so, again, look at Garrison, like how many people want to be like, I want to run a sub 3 hour marathon. Yeah. And then Garrison goes, okay, I run every day for an hour to an hour and a half every day. And, I do it at like anywhere from 3 to 5 a.m. They're like, oh, I don't really want to do that now. Yeah. A lot of people envy the like you said, the output or the goal. They don't envy the work required to get there.
Yeah, there's. I know this was used, and there's a million different versions. But in Ranger Battalion, there was, everybody wants to say they're a Ranger, nobody wants to be one.
Yeah,
and that's it. It's like, okay, you want to wear the tan beret? Get over here.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think so.
Right. All right. What time is it on the North Pole? Okay, this will be interesting. Oh, is that where do all the time zones like intersect there technically? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
If time zones were divided evenly, which they're not, because they're divided politically, culturally, they'd be 15 degrees wide. If you do the math, 15 degrees times 24 time zones gets you 360 degrees. Now, you may have noticed, if you look at a globe, that the lines of longitude that separate out, as you get near the poles, they come closer together. So you don't have to travel as far to go from one time zone to the next, because they get narrower and narrower. As you get near the North Pole, all lines converge to one point. So the question is, what time is it on the North Pole?
No time or all time, right?
That's as good an answer as any.
Okay, interesting. No time or all time. Yeah. That is wild to think about. I would go there, find where they converge, and I would like run in a circle, and I'd be the fastest person to travel across all time zones.
Yeah.
Oh, if you run backwards, you could be the fastest person. You ran back in time.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't.
You could literally run back in time.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm flying to the North Pole just to make a YouTube video about how I ran back in time.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you could do that anyways. We could go to like where the time zone changed near Tallahassee, and I could start on the Tallahassee side and run backwards and say I ran back in time.
Yeah. Yeah.
The fastest marathon because I literally ran. I got an hour taken off of my time.
Yeah.
All right. Snake robots. Oh, this will be interesting.
This crazy snake robot is built to search for alien life.
Oh, so
here, on one of Saturn's moons. Beneath a thick, icy surface, there's an ocean that spews plumes of water through cracks. And in them, NASA has found organic molecules, meaning that it could support life. That ice makes it hard to study with traditional rovers, but this terrifying little guy can slither, or even dive down into the depths, guided by cameras and LiDAR on its head. The challenge is it's gotta do things on its own, because it takes a full hour and a half to send a message to that moon. But it's possible that we could find alien life with a snake robot, and I just think that's very cool. For optimistic science and tech stories, subscribe.
She's got a cool channel.
Just real quick, we got a snake robot that's battery life is just insane, and my cell phone's got to get charged every day.
Yep.
That's what I'm gathering from
Apple.
this.
Come on.
Think about that. Mars rover lasted how long?
It would have to have a way to recharge itself.
Well, the Mars rover like had solar recharging until it got covered by the
Dust.
And it like made a really sad last message and stuff. Have you ever hear about that? Oh, look up the Mars rover's like final message to Earth. It was like a really sad thing. Apparently, like people have like researched it and they like get teary eyed because it's like it's like a super. My battery is low and it's getting dark.
Oh,
yeah, isn't that sad?
Yeah.
Oh, and the rover's last message went viral and inspired the film Good Night, Oppie.
Okay.
So,
good night, Oppie.
Can you imagine? Like you're like working the desk and all of a sudden you get a message from the Mars rover.
Dark in here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's Amazon original. Yeah. Interesting, huh? But no, I mean, that's what I gather from that. It's like, what's our battery technology at, honestly?
Yeah, I don't know. They tried to do that. The Samsung did that where they like stripped the negative ion or whatever and like looped it, but that was what was catching all their phones on fire.
Oh. Well, my thing is like, why don't you make the back of the phone a solar panel? Because you could definitely coat it in glass that was like strong enough.
I think you can strip it. I think you would need to put 2 batteries in the phone, but I think you can strip the unused energy and charge another battery off your phone. But it would just probably make it significantly thicker.
Or what about like the fact that like I'm walking and moving with my phone and that doesn't charge?
I mean, we're not worried about, lithium deposits running out because we just throw lithium away.
Obviously not.
Get rid of it.
Well, I think by that time AI will tell us there's some other battery that's better. So
human brains.
Your brain, just humans in general.
Human brains and bodies.
Just hook you up. You're the battery. Influencers in the wildfire. Okay, is this the California? Here we go. Oh gosh.
Meg DeAngelis has been blasted online for a tone-deaf selfie she posted to her millions of followers during the LA wildfires. The 29-year-old posted this selfie to her Instagram story, which prompted quick backlash from the internet, who labeled her tone-deaf and insensitive. The Canadian-born YouTuber quickly backpedaled in a follow-up post and gave her thoughts to all those affected by the devastating fires.
This is
hold on. Doesn't she look like a GTA character or like a low bit resolution of a person?
Yeah, she actually looks like she's like one of those like fake robot dolls.
She
like,
does not look real, but okay. Damn, that house is going.
But is the photo classy? Not really, but also I think it's personally just dumb that like every influencer has to talk about anything that's impacting certain people. Like people are upset. Like no one got onto us, but I know there's people that live near LA or outside LA that got
Yeah. Remember when you used to have to change your profile picture? You were like evil,
or you didn't post a black square, or you didn't address something.
Like, whoa, I missed it today.
I used to tell people all the time, and that probably why people don't like me. I said, listen, everyone has different things that they're passionate about. Like maybe I'm passionate about like the ocean cleanup, and if you're not passionate about that, that doesn't make you a bad person. Right. Like everyone's gonna have things to, and they're like, but this is human lives. I was like, well, there's human lives in other countries that are getting taken.
Have you seen what's going on with Renzo out in LA?
The who?
The rents. They are astronomical.
Well, what was the rents here after Hurricane Michael?
I know, but they've like tripled and quadrupled in certain like districts.
Areas.
They put and so this is something that's kind of a weird.
Well,
thing.
Technically, it's supply and demand.
So Gavin Newsom puts but if you can tear down by specific areas.
150%. 200% in parts of LA. Right.
So houses that were already renting for much more than here, 5,000-6,000 a month, or 12,000-14,000 a month. I'm with you, man. Supply and demand, but the other side of that coin too is, gosh, man, how much BS do you have to be able to put up with California tenant laws to even be willing to like rent it to them when you're like the last house there? Because they can just pay the first month, not pay anymore, take 2 years to get kicked out, and they take your properties,
Yeah, so. I don't know. Like the way I look at those situations is just, I mean, if you don't like it, move.
Yeah.
I think people act like they're like handcuffed to an area.
Yep.
Like if all of a sudden rent prices are just too expensive somewhere, no one owes it to you
We don't
to
have
allow you to live there.
Yeah, we don't have the right to be immobile. And I know that also can cause some problems because like some folks with some family land that have been there forever, then a developer comes in and wants to do yada yada. I know, but the fairest free market way to do things is just say you want to keep your land safe, buy all the land around it.
Well, I mean, the truth is, if I wanted to live somewhere like climate wise, I'd live in San Diego, California.
Yep.
Great climate, year round.
Yep.
Doesn't really rain. cool at night, warm. The summers are not ridiculously hot. I mean, I would live in San Diego, but I like don't really care for that, state itself, like California's politics. But like, also, I can't. I could afford there. I don't want to pay that.
Yeah, same, man. Like San Francisco, beautiful. Obviously, my wife and I love eating out.
Hawaii, great.
Yeah.
Oh, honestly, maybe I'd pick Hawaii, truthfully, because like love the food in Hawaii. Yeah. Like I love the like those. I like those fish better than our fish.
Sure.
Like
I think I'd pick San Francisco, man. Like again, I like the cooler weather certain times, and again, great, but. Shoot, man, there's so many homeless villages there. There's so many, whatever, it's gross. There's so many gross areas there now.
I like that San Diego gets cool but doesn't snow.
Right.
And I also like that summer isn't like abysmal hot.
Yeah,
it's just kind of like nice.
You got the Pacific blowing in, nice cool air all the time.
Yeah, so San Diego would be my thing. Like, yeah, look, San Diego, the highs and lows is like 67 to 50 in January, and it pretty much stays that way until June, and then it's like 72, 76. But like the highs and lows in like August and September are like 80. It's literally the best weather.
Yep.
I mean, at night you're wearing a hoodie.
Nice and dry.
Yeah. I mean, rain is like 0 days in the summer.
Yeah.
May through September.
Fortunately, that's why they got them fires, though.
Yeah. Does San Diego have fires too?
Well, I mean, California in general.
Right, I know. But I mean, literally, to me, San Diego is the spot I would live. Like climate-wise.
Yeah.
I wish we had San Diego's climate.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the freak snowstorm stuff, but like at the same time, it's like, I hate that it's like 1,000,000 degrees in the summer.
Yeah.
You're like, ugh.
Yeah, every summer, man, I'm over this place, so.
Yeah.
We need to keep blowing this up and find us a nice West Coast.
It's so funny. It's like Aubrey's literally like, can't wait for summer. And I'm like, Aubrey, you literally tell me the moment summer starts, when is this going to be over?
Floridians, man, we get one little cold snap and everybody starts complaining. I'm like, I love it. And if I hate it, you ain't going to hear me complaining, because you are going to hear me complaining in July and August.
The weather yesterday was probably like my favorite.
Yeah.
In the morning, it was still like in the 40s. And then like the hottest it got was like, I think upper 50s, maybe low 60s yesterday. Yeah. Today's all right too, but I think it started out, it was too warm.
The sun.
It was like 50 this morning when we were like running. So, which is also a weird temperature to run at. Like 50.
How do you dress?
Yeah, so I had on long sleeve, but then I had shorts, but then I had a beanie on, and I was fine the whole thing. But my hands were like cold, and I was like, "Dang, I should have worn gloves." So yeah, whatever. We're gonna do shower thoughts, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about fat and weird. Yeah. So
humans are the only species who pay to live on the planet. Shower thoughts to make you laugh or freeze your brain.
Okay, humans are the only species to live on the planet. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Technically.
Yeah, I don't really know.
Okay.
All right.
Shower thoughts to make you laugh or freeze your brain. The last one is insane. Babysitters are teenagers who act like grown-ups so that grown-ups can go out and act like teenagers.
I mean, not really true.
Yeah.
I mean, like some people, they definitely go out and stuff, but like really, I just want to go out to dinner without a child.
Yeah. I just want to go hang out with my wife.
Yeah.
Just her.
I mean, I guess that's teenager habits, but
yeah,
I just call it just pre-children habits.
We trying to go somewhere nice though these days. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. Like my budget ain't teenager budget usually. So, but I do still hope it ends the same way as it did whenever I was a teenager. Oh, right.
When a student fails the test, is it the student that did bad or the teacher?
The teacher.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say that's really depends, right? Because there's poor preparation on the student's part as well. But at the same time, like I feel like a teacher is responsible for preparing their students for a test.
Yeah. So I would say I think somewhere along the lines we've lost what a teacher is supposed to be. And like a teacher is like a coach. And like if your team loses, it's your fault. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, if you've got folks that are just struggling or getting behind, now I understand that if we're talking modern public schools, they don't have time, classes are overcrowded, yada, yada. I understand. But in a perfect world, you would get to assign little Johnny something else because little Johnny needs different work because little Johnny learns differently. And we all learn differently. And so, like, arbitrary tests for arbitrary skill sets. I don't know.
Also, the practicality of school. Like, at the end of the day, like, yeah, of course, my daughter needs to learn how to spell things, needs to learn the alphabet. But when we get to, like, trigonometry, like, the truth is, like, the application of a lot of that stuff is just not there. I think the amount of time I spent studying things that were completely irrelevant or could have been, like, dabbled in to, like, understand that there's ways to calculate different things but you won't need this unless your degree is in these things. Yeah. I think that's the real issue is like they want you to have this giant base understanding of all these things. Yeah. And it serves no purpose other than saying like, I do good on this test.
Yeah. So. Well, yeah, my kids know their Cantrells, and our standards are just that like at anything you're not going to fail.
Right.
Anything you do. But there are certain things for certain individuals. So, you know, you can have strengths, you can have weaknesses, you know, I'm not going to beat them up. But like if we're talking general schooling, you know, up and through the 12th grade or whatever, yeah, if everybody else is taking it, y'all are going to know it and do generally well because I'm preparing them to be above average humans later in life. And so like if you know nothing about topics that other people know about, you're a little off.
Right.
You know, but beyond that, I mean, trigonometry specifically, okay, but there's a whole bunch of stuff, dude. Like, we study kind of random stuff in history. You know, social studies is pretty random until you decide to niche down in college. You just
in economics, like that is I mean, people have master's degree and argue about things in economics, and then you expect me to like. I mean, obviously there are basic fundamentals that people agree on, but then like you start getting into stuff, and your economics teacher's like, no, that's wrong, and you're like, well, technically, you know, you know. I found I took a business economics class where they actually talked about like cash flow and business stuff in college. And that was obviously like very relevant and helpful. But like sometimes you're just like, yeah, this is like not helpful to take this basic economics class and then you argue about like certain principles and stuff.
Yep.
So, but
we think people with glasses look smart, but in reality, they failed the test to get them.
Zing.
I think, why do we think people with glasses are smarter? I think the way I look at it is like, oh, they must read a lot because they gotta wear those glasses. I feel like that's what it is, you know?
I feel like it was something that was just kind of like perpetuated through time and storytelling and everything else.
You know what it probably was, truthfully? Used to, there was a monetary value associated with someone being able to afford glasses.
Oh, true.
And because of that, you know, you associate the wealth with that kind of thing. It's kind of like people think that like more attractive people are more trustworthy. There's that like thing. I bet you the way it was is back in the day, people were like, when they had glasses, they're like, oh, they must be well-to-do, so they must be very educated in order.
And they must have
that.
A need for them,
right?
So they could. They must be able to read.
Yeah. So I really think that's probably it. Actually, that would be my guess.
Yeah.
So
you heard it here first. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yep.
We're writing it down.
It's the truth.
History.
Yep.
Update the wiki.
Yep.
Comment, I'm smart because, and let your keyboard finish the sentence. Why does the movie Cars have sidewalks in it?
Oh,
I don't know. I actually have never seen any of the Cars movies.
You need to go in. I'm not going to even try, but folks on Reddit come up with these like side backstories on how all these movies start. And they always make them so sad.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, they've like I saw one that was like connecting like up with like this or Wall-E and stuff like that. And there really is like some connection to some of these things. There has
to be because the animators or whatever they're called now, they wouldn't put those things in.
Well,
the
someone was talking about the sunken boat from like Elsa's parents dying, and like was the sunken boat from Ariel the Mermaid when she was finding some of the trinkets and stuff like that, because then they like placed it because Ariel the Mermaid was in the Norwegian Sea and like all this stuff, you know. So like it is pretty wild. But cars come to life assuming the personalities of previous owners, and we don't see any humans in car movies because they're all on the axiom.
Yeah, the Wall-E.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, and then the other side of the planet is the trash for whatever.
Yeah. See, the funny thing is, like, I haven't seen Wall-E either.
Oh, bro.
I know. Well, I mean, I didn't have a kid then.
Watch Wall-E. Fun. One, Letty should. I mean, she should be into it. It's definitely entertaining.
It's sad though.
It's sad because it's what I think the world is heading to. Not the specifics, but like everybody just floats around in these hover chairs. And like if me and you were talking, we wouldn't talk like this. I wouldn't even know you were there. And I'd be like, I'd have you on FaceTime, and then they're just like drinking their calories and just like flying, and they're like, oh, it's a new day, and they're like, oh, change clothes, boop, and they just like,
oh wow,
it's like just no movement, no physical activity.
Yeah, it reminds me of the movie Surrogates with Mel Gibson, right?
Yeah.
Was that his movie?
Oh, was he in that movie?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
that was an edgy movie for its time. I mean, it's still kind of gross.
Well, it was the whole idea was that you had this surrogate out there, and then if your surrogate died, you were fine, but then some guy had like this virus that was able to like kill the surrogates. Was Mel Gibson a surrogate? Let Google do it for you. It's SURROGATE. Surrogate. I don't know. Just type in surrogate movie.
Give me Mel Gibson. Bruce.
Oh, it was Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis.
Okay. Yeah, but it was a very, very interesting movie back in the day. Yeah. So, all right. Here we go.
You can get arrested for peeing in front of other people, and then you will be forced to pee in front of other people.
Yeah. That's
and you can also get put on the sex registry list if you pee too close to school or a church or something like that. Or I guess a minor sees you peeing technically.
Yep. I know, man. I used to get whatever. Liam would have soccer practice or whatever, and then be in the bathroom. I'm like, where do I go, man? I would hoof it.
Yeah.
I gotta go pee in the woods way over there.
Yeah, I know. And then I remember being scared as just a 17, 18, 19-year-old peeing outside oh no.
Well, growing up, man, I don't know, maybe I was a little too country or something, but growing up, I remember everybody it just wasn't an issue. Just don't look over there, dude's peeing.
Yeah, I remember that.
And now it's oh.
I remember on car trips pulling over on the side road and people go peeing on the side of the road and you get back in the car and it was you see cars pulled over doing that all the time. And then now it's just
right,
clutch
my pearls real quick.
It's I don't know if y'all need to get more hydrated. That's what it really is. Y'all ain't even hydrated. So drink more water.
We don't check the fridge multiple times to see if we can find new food. We check to see if our standards have lowered enough since the last time we opened it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, because it's not I know new food is going to be there, but sometimes when you want a snack and you're I know what's in there. Most of it's meal prep stuff.
Do you feel though that maybe you're just getting a better idea of what your craving is because you've snacked on some other things? You're
I feel
that's
mine goes and then if the kids have snacks, those are easy to grab, but if those are kind of running low, then I've always got protein cooked up in the house, so eventually I'm just grabbing a steak and eating it. So it winds up being good for my diet. But
I think I just don't check the fridge. I usually go to the pantry because I know that I'm craving either chips or candy.
Yeah,
and it's which candy is it? Is it chocolate or is it gummy or is it
Yeah, I've been trying to get rid of the big bag of something and go to individual packs of them. So if the kids like them. If there's pretzels or whatever, it's too easy for me to go grab them. But if I grab a bag, it's fine. But it's easier also to process in my head, those are the kids' snacks. Don't grab those. But if I can just get a little handful. So I try to.
All right.
Before the insane one, like and subscribe for new videos every day.
Come on.
Why are claustrophobic people perfectly fine with their brains being trapped inside their skulls?
Why are claustrophobic? Okay. Also want to know at what level does the claustrophobia start? Is it for different for different people? All the doors are shut here, the curtains are down. Would this be claustrophobic for some people and not for others?
I think so. I think it has to do with when people start feeling that trapped feeling. I think there's a lot you can unpack as to why people feel that way or whatever.
I'm sure we're all claustrophobic to some extent.
Yeah, to some extent for sure. I'm afraid of getting stuck in something. I wouldn't say that the only time I'm going to be worried is if the elevator stops.
Well, what's the difference between stuck and trapped?
Well, I worked at Berg Pipe for a little while and I had no problem getting in the tight pipes. I knew I could shimmy my way out of. If I was worried I had to hold some contorted position and I was going to get stuck, then I wouldn't even go in them. But
right.
Because I was I'm going to get stuck. So I don't know. I've never just teleported or appeared somewhere. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
But I agree with you. I imagine, but I don't know. When I was a kid, if somebody let me ride around in their trunk or whatever, I thought it was fun.
Yeah, yeah. But I know for a fact, you put me in a dark box, and the moment I feel I'm stuck in that dark box, then I'm going to have a problem. I wouldn't have a problem being in that dark box until I felt I was stuck. So I feel people that are claustrophobic just feel stuck.
Yeah.
And they just need to go check that door.
Well, see, because, I don't know. Again, if you put me in a box or whatever, yes, I would also feel claustrophobic. I think I could do, I wouldn't want to. I want to walk around. But some of those challenges where you're I'm going to do this for 24 hours or whatever.
Did you see the one where Mr. Beast buried someone and they had to make it over 24 hours to get the money? And if they came in less than that, they ended up staying in the box for 36 hours essentially.
You could make a case that there's some assisted psychological torture going on there, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Well,
you get big enough, you got to be careful.
Well, they did. He did it in that video, so The guy made it and ended up getting the money. But like for me, I think that I would feel weird there because I knew technically any moment they would like give me. And I think the lag between like, hey, I'm ready to go and you getting me out would be like.
That would be the hard part too, because that would feel like an eternity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get me out of here.
Yeah. I'm ready now. Like right this second.
Yeah, that's why things like cave diving or even cave exploration has never interested me.
Yeah. My dad does stupid stuff like that. Like he'll take his entire dive gear off and like with his spear gun, take a breath out of his regulator, let go of it, swim into situations to like try to shoot a fish and then swim back out and put his gear back on.
Angel.
Huh?
Your dad has a guardian angel though.
Yeah, he's got until that guardian angel runs out.
Yeah.
Well, you sent me that video about that guy.
I was like, this is your dad.
There was a guy. Adam sent me the video. Hopefully, you can find this guy. They call him like the world's luckiest man. Yeah. But like, he literally got like a bus derailed. He had a head-on collision and
got
like
sucked out of a plane, landed in a bale of hay.
Yeah, and survived. That's him, Frano Selick. He survived multiple near-death experiences, including a train crash, plane crash, bus crash, 2 car explosions, and he also won the lottery.
Yep.
But I will say, at the end of the video, it said that he died with his 5th wife.
Yeah.
So unless his wife happened to be dying in all these events, he was not the luckiest man to have to
True
be.
that, but supposedly his gravesite got struck by lightning.
Oh yeah, that's true.
After he died.
Yeah, it is pretty wild that. Yeah, what Frano Selick. But yeah, that is. Send me that. It was wild. All the stuff that this man had been through. Yeah, he's a train crash that derailed into a river, killing 17 passengers. Survived a plane crash by landing in a haystack after being blown out of a malfunctioning door. Like, first off, like, what? Survived a bus crash that skidded off the road and into a river, drowning 4 passengers. He escaped a car fire before the fuel tank blew up. He survived a car plunging off a cliff with the help of a tree. He fell into the tree.
Yeah.
And then he walked away from 2 exploding cars. I would not go near this man.
Nope.
Like I would have been like, yeah, man, you're cool. But no.
Send him in to take out our enemies, bro.
By a hip operation and a shrine to the Virgin Mary. Yeah, he needed to buy a shrine to God, but yeah, I mean. Yeah. Anyways, All right, well, we'll get into some fat and weird stuff now.
Yeah.
I don't know how much time we have left or how long we've been going, but we hired a design team. We're really excited about. They actually have done some design work for Macho Man Randy Savage and Hot Pocket.
Hot Pockets.
So it's a really cool design team. They're going to work on some like rebranding efforts for Fat and Weird. I think I've talked about this a little bit, but when you start a company, it's just me and I did everything. I mean, I had people involved here and there that I could help pay. I mean, like obviously my first logo, I didn't design it. I paid someone to design it, but it was a local person. They did a great job. It's carried us through. They're probably still surprised I'm using that logo. Yeah. Coming up on 7 years later. Yeah. But at the same time, you're like, there's just comes a time that you're just like, hey, we got to make some changes.
Well, and now's the time. I mean, we're really rolling full steam into the retail space. And so before we're even bigger than we are now there, it's kind of the right time to jump on it. But we also got, the food photography team. We got a lot of moving parts to put together on that.
Yeah. I mean, we've had some really great photographers that just like live here locally. And so we've gotten really great photos up to this point. But like now we have reached out to a team that literally has someone that does like food photography as far as like, setting up the cookies, making it stylish. Yeah. Food stylist, I think is what they're called. But so, you're just playing at a different level now. And so you just kind of have to, I guess you're growing into these new things.
Lean into it for sure.
Yeah. Cause I mean, the first food photographer was me. Yep. And they were just, I don't know. I think it was like a Sony A6500 I had and, throwing on whatever lens I could afford at the time and taking photos. And, it kind of like back then I was just like, lower the aperture, the better, make everything blurry except for what you're taking a picture of. And so sometimes the cookie would be like half in focus, half out of focus. I had no lighting at all. It was just like whatever the sun would give me for lighting. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it's a really cool step. As the brand has grown, obviously we put a lot of monetary value into just building the infrastructure to produce the cookies. Some people would say that's a good idea. Some people may have made the decisions that I'm making now earlier on and maybe hadn't done the infrastructure. But for me, I feel like it's been the right decisions.
Yeah,
at the right time.
we're in a different position. So there are a lot of brands that go out there, and I would say they're very marketing focused. They got the right design team out of the gate. They spend a ton of money on the package, and then they usually have somebody else make the product for them or do whatever, and like kind of going the opposite, man. Like really shoring up the ability. I mean, we have unlimited scalability almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting. And we also have taken the hits on the chin, if you will, along the way. We know kind of what we want now.
Yeah.
We've gone through it, I know you took the initial rounds, but we've had other food photographers through here. We've had other package designers. We've had other people. So we've learned a lot.
Right.
I think we got a good team. We got a good starter process.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to get a business to where I've gotten a business and doing different things. And I think that you would have a different hand of cards per se that you were playing if you had gone a different route. You don't know what you don't know. And I think, some of my mistakes have been very costly. And then there's some things I've done that at the time felt like I was making a big mistake. And now you're like, great, I'm glad you did it. For example, the machines. Yep. Technically, I never had to upgrade those machines. That's the machines that we currently had would have worked for a while. Yep. However, for 2 years, I've been paying on those machines. And now
they're paid off.
Next month, it will be paid off, and we'll be completely done making payments on those machines, which if I had to do it now would be such a pain in the butt. And I think it'd be a lot more expensive now than what we paid for it back then. Right. Just because
people say hindsight's 20/20. I don't think hindsight is 20/20 because it's hard to look today and remember where you really were when you made that decision.
Well, I think hindsight's 20/20 in like this area.
Yeah, you go like, you can't help but think now with the volume and the revenue and the whatever, belief versus knowledge, I would have done this or that or whatever, but it's like,
Well, and everyone believes in their product. Like no one launches a product and doesn't believe in it. Like you just wouldn't do it, right? If you didn't, and there's still like 90% of small businesses fail within the first
2 years.
And then there's another percentage that fails.
Years.
Yeah. So when you look at that, every single one of those people believed in what they were doing. They wouldn't have made the leap of faith that they would have done or done whatever. So to say like, you just didn't go all in or fully believe it. It's like, no, there's a smart level of like, I wouldn't say pessimism, but just like, I don't know, just like being aware of situations and
the glass is exactly as full as it is. The more you can realize that, then the better. Because you do need times where you go like, the glass is half full, we're crushing it. You do need that, but I think you really only need that just for like yourself, your mental clarity, and like to motivate your team. But the rest of the time, it's like, no, here's where we are. This is the step we make, and sometimes those steps are, if this is the wrong one, we're gonna fail. And then you're like, okay. We're good.
Right.
Like that glass thing.
Well, literally, I think like less than 6 months ago, I was looking at my brother-in-law, who is my CPA, and then our bookkeeper, and we were like going through with a line of credit. And I looked at him and I said, should I be doing this line of credit? Like, do you feel like our cash flow situation is in a point that like I should be borrowing more money? Because, Aubrey and I had put a lot of money into Fat and Weird to like keep it going because we believed in it, and if it were to fail, people would look at us and be like, you idiots, right? But now that it's going well, people would be like, you did the right thing, right?
Yep.
But I looked at them, I was like, would you guys do this if you were me? And they were just both like, I think it's going to be okay. And you're like, that's not really like that.
Well, it's tough also because and neither one of those people are in any way small-minded, but they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And so like, we're talking millions of dollars here, but the opportunity to get so many millions more.
Right.
A lot of folks just want to play it real.
Yeah.
And it's just, you're not playing it. It's not gambling, but it's calculated investing, and shit can happen.
Well, I know we've never talked about this on the podcast, but like, I know I talked to you about like, what could we turn this building into if it wasn't going to be Fat and Weird? Like how much money could I make? Because, there was a time that, not to prove the haters right, but like there was a time that Fat and Weird was struggling. And it was about like, I had the potential to build, like to do so much more than I was doing. And I needed someone to like help go find those accounts so that we could service them. Yep. It was more of a lack of sales, but not like we were just relying on one sales channel, which was e-com. And so, once we got someone in here, and I think people don't realize like how slow wholesale is. I mean, I invested into Counter
fucking
3 years ago.
So slow. Yeah.
I invested in Counter 3 years ago, and they just sent out an email. They're like, we hope to be profitable this year. There was only a time when we weren't profitable, and if you were to take that time and to average it out, we were never not profitable over the course of the entire company. Ooh, interesting. Well, Adam's camera died, so maybe that was a way to tell me that like it's time to end this thing. But maybe we'll get into that story next time. So comment down below if you want us to get into that. Thanks for watching. Do our shit.
See ya.
You're worth it.